Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia. So I came across this video the other day about the Booktube Newbie tag that YouTube recommended to me, and I didn't really know it was a thing, so I kind of wanted to participate and make my own, and I'm not gonna lie, I went on a spiral and I watched a lot of other YouTubers Booktube Newbie tag, and I just love how like some of my favorite booktubers posted theirs like years ago when they first started. I just love it. I love it so much. It's so wholesome. Also, you're getting like double glare because if I look up, there's the ring light, and then if I look down, it's my iPad. So I do apologize. I feel like I always have glare in my glasses. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't always wear these. They're blue light and I look at screens all day. We're gonna get to know each other a little bit, and that makes me very nervous because I'm about as socially awkward and introverted as it comes, and I am definitely a loner. I think if you open the dictionary to the word loner, you'll see my picture. It's very, very small, but it's there. So anyway, let's dive right in. So the first question on the list is, why did you start this channel? And boy, if that's not a loaded question. I started this channel for two primary reasons. And the first is that I don't have a lot of bookish friends in real life that I can finish a book and immediately be like, oh my God, what just happened? I don't really have anyone to do like tandem reads with, is that what you call it? I don't really have anyone to like read the book at the same time as me. I don't really have like a reading buddy, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and I really just want to be part of a community where I can share my obsession with books with other people who are just as, if not more, obsessed with books as I am. So that's the first point. The second point is because I wanted to do something that got me out of my comfort zone. A little bit of a backstory. So 6 months ago, in May, yes, I'm a Taurus, I turned 30, and I realized that I spent a lot of time hiding in my 20s. I don't really have a lot of friends. I don't really go out a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because it makes me happy, and I feel at peace being by myself, home alone, doing my own thing. But I kind of wanted to change my life, I guess you could say. The most uncomfortable thing I could think of was starting a YouTube channel. And I also just kind of wanted to show myself that I can do big, scary things. And to me, YouTube is a really big, scary thing, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit more later. But yeah, those are my primary reasons for starting this channel. Question number 2, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? Okay, now it feels like an interview. I don't know, to be honest. I fail to see my own uniqueness on a daily basis, and so I guess my opinions, I also think I have a sense of humor, a decent sense of humor, but I have to be kind of comfortable before I unleash that side of me because I am a fan. I am a fan of a good roast, and there's nothing I love better than roasting a bad book or a book that I didn't like. And so I think I have a unique sense of humor, but I think that's gonna take time to come out a little bit. I don't know. So I guess that's something to look forward to once we get to know each other. I'll get a little funnier. Question number 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? The easy upfront answer is connecting with other people. It's also partially why I created this channel, but at the same time, I think it's also going to be the hardest aspect of having this channel because I want to create videos about books, but I also want to create videos about my life in the form of like daily vlogs and things like that. And so I think I have to balance that, but I also have to learn how to be more social because like I said earlier in the video, I am a loner through and through. I get very overwhelmed by a lot of social activity, and like if I do something with you on Friday night, don't ask me to do anything else the rest of the weekend because I'm gonna be home. I'm gonna order in, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna do my stuff, I'm not gonna talk to anyone. But I do acknowledge that the whole point of social media is to be social, and so I think it's one of the more daunting aspects, but I also think that's what makes it so exciting. I also think I might have answered another question, so if I repeat myself, I do apologize. Question number 4, why do you love reading? I feel like I've just always loved to read. I read for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes I read to escape and to not have to think about my problems for a little while. Other times I read because I fall in love with a story so hard that I just can't imagine doing anything else. And the same also goes for characters. Sometimes I fall in love with characters so hard that I don't even want to read anything else. And I've just always loved reading. As young as I can remember, I've always enjoyed it, and it's just something that has always felt very natural to me. I don't think I've ever had to force myself to read anything or to kind of fake it, like, oh, I love to read. No, I've genuinely always loved to read. I I've had other hobbies like that, but reading has always been something that has been very stable and consistent in my life, and so I also love it for that reason, but I also just love books for the simple fact that I love stories, and stories live in books. Question number 5. What book or series got you into reading? Oh boy, we're about to get nostalgic. If you were born in the early 90s, you should know these books if you also like to read. The earliest books that I remember loving that have like stuck with me over the years is Inkheart, Esperanza Rising, City of Embers series. That was a good series. A series of unfortunate events. I had all those books. And it's actually kind of funny because even though I read all of those books and other fantasy type books, I actually wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter when I was younger. So I did grow up watching the movies because I think my mom was like, all right, well, literally all your friends are watching the movies, so whatever. But I never read the books until I think like 2 years ago. And yeah, I missed out. I really missed out on an experience. I started reading the series on September 1st because that's when you go back to Hogwarts. It was magical as an adult, and I can only imagine how much more magical it would have been when I was in middle school. But that's neither here nor there. But those are the series and the books that got me into reading. They are truly the reason why I love reading. I don't really have copies of them anymore. I do have a copy of Esperanza Rising. Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. This is like my favorite book. My favorite book when I was younger. I also have the Land of Babylon series. I remember staying up late at night to read these books. But I also have the Harry Potter series right behind me. So I do actually have some series that got me into reading. I would like to get copies of the City of Ember just because I remember really loving that series as well. And I had the Inkheart series books, but I left my copy of Inkheart on my back porch once when I was reading outside in the summer and it had rained, and I never got another copy to replace it, so maybe that will go on my Christmas list. The only other book series I can think of that got me into reading was the Aragon trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. The Aragon series by Christopher Paolini. Paolini? You're gonna learn real quick that I can't say names. Those are the books that got me into reading, and even now as an adult, I still really appreciate those books because they meant a lot to me then, and just the fact that they've stuck with me through all these years, they still mean a lot to me now. Question number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Oh, how do you film reading vlogs? How do you kind of set up and structure your vlogs? Do you set up and structure your vlog? Do you also suffer from imposter syndrome? How do you get over the fear of criticism of sharing your opinions on the internet? Because that is a really big fear of mine. How do you do it? How do you juggle it? How? Question 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? So as you can see, this is not my first video, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I stumbled across this tag and it really just sparked my interest. And so I think, if anything, I worry about being judged, and I think that's just like a universal fear. It's not just with YouTube, but I definitely am afraid of being judged very harshly for having an opinion. I also kind of worry about getting canceled. To be honest, I think it's just a fear of judgment. I think it's just a fear of saying something and angering someone who then decides to like retaliate, and just fear of judgment because, you know, people maybe don't really know me or get the whole story, or, you know, they hear me say one thing and then that's just their opinion of me. But I think no matter what you do, there's going to be judgment, and especially when you're putting yourself on the internet, there are just going to be people, you know, who are going to hide behind their little gray icons and say whatever they want about you. But the truth is that I have an Aries mother and a Capricorn father, and you literally can't say anything that could hurt my feelings at this point in my life. So I know a lot of other people struggle with being on camera and, you know, whatever, but no, to me it's just being judged and misunderstood and misrepresented, I guess, would be challenge to overcome. Question 8. When did you start reading? When I think about reading independently, I started reading independently in middle school. Because those are the years when I remember like asking my mom for money to buy my own books, and I knew kind of like what I was into, and I had a good idea of like, if I looked at a book and I read the back cover, I could kind of tell like if I would like this or not. And so I'm gonna say middle school. I'm gonna go with 6th grade. I feel like is when I really truly started reading for myself, because obviously my mom read me books when I was younger, but they were books that she picked out, books that she thought were appropriate. And so I think I want to say 6th grade is when I really started reading things that I wanted to read, and I started to develop my own interest and investment in reading. And honestly, it was the start of fantasy books having me in a chokehold. Middle grade fantasy? It gives. Question number 10. What kind of books do you read? Interesting question. So, obviously, as you can tell, I started out reading middle grade fantasy when I was in middle school. In high school, I feel like I kind of just read whatever I was assigned. I took a lot of English classes. My senior year of high school, I took, I think, 5 literature electives just because I could. So I was doing a lot of reading, but it was primarily for class. So I was reading a lot of like Irish literature and literature of horror, and I was taking creative writing, so we were reading a lot of like short stories. After high school, I really got into contemporary romance. So my early to mid 20s, I was just consumed with contemporary romance. My late 20s, I kind of hit a little bit of a slump because I went back to school, so I was reading a lot of classics. I have a bachelor's of English and creative writing, and then once I graduated, I tried to go back to contemporary romance, but at that point, I had been through a divorce, so it just didn't feel the same anymore, and so instead, I started reading a lot of mystery and thriller. It turns out I really like domestic thrillers. And then I got back into fantasy, and I found romantasy or fantasy romance, and it just really pulled me in. But the short answer to this question is adult and young adult fantasy, epic fantasy, fantasy romance, historical fiction with romance subplots, mysteries, domestic thrillers, and translated fiction make up the bulk of what I read now, and they're just genres that I really enjoy. Last but not least, what does your book collection look like? Like me, it's a mess. So I have quite a few books that I haven't read, which is unfortunate, and I don't really have a book collection. I don't have aesthetic shelves. I think if I had a book aesthetic, it would be books everywhere. Books in piles, books on carts, books on tables, books on the floor. I love the aesthetic of like the old literature professor who has all these like classic books just strewn about his office, and like there's a cup of coffee from like 3 days ago, and there's papers to be graded all over his desk, and you know there's like snacks in the corner, and there's a cat napping in the window. That would be my aesthetic. So I do also worry about that. I know a lot of booktubers have very nice book collections. They have very nice bookshelves. Please don't expect that of me. I have one bookshelf. I might one day get more bookshelves, but I really like the messy aesthetic of just books everywhere, so I don't know if I will ever do that. Never say never. All right, we did it. We made it. I am very hungry. I need to go make dinner. It's almost 7 o'clock. But yeah, there you have it. That was interesting. It kind of feels weird talking about myself in like a question answer kind of format. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you maybe skipped around a bit and got to know me a little bit, because I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know you. And like I said, I'm very much a loner and an introvert, and I feel very awkward. So if you ever like leave me a comment or send me a message and I don't reply to you right away, please don't be offended. I promise I will get to you. I will probably say something weird. So I guess that's something to look forward to. I'm glad I stumbled across this tag. I'm glad, YouTube kind of put it in front of me, and I'm glad that I did it. I'm also glad that it's not my first video, because I think it would have been much worse. I think at this point I feel pretty comfortable in front of the camera, but it's just that fear of judgment, and I also am a perfectionist. I want things to be perfect, and I think part of my YouTube journey is letting go of the notion that if it isn't perfect, then it's not worthy. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!